Hello everyone, and welcome to Stuff I Found Interesting. Today's rabbit hole is superconductors. Superconductors are materials that can conduct electricity with zero resistance when they are cooled to very low temperatures, typically below negative 200 degrees Celsius or negative 328 degrees Fahrenheit. This means that electrical current can flow through them without any loss of energy due to resistance, making them very efficient for a wide range of applications. Let's start with a bit of history. Superconductors were first discovered in 1911 by Dutch physicist Heike Kamerlingh-Onnes, who observed that the electrical resistance of mercury dropped to zero when it was cooled to about 4 degrees Kelvin, which is negative 269 degrees Celsius or negative 452 degrees Fahrenheit. Since then, researchers have discovered many other materials that exhibit superconductivity at various temperatures. One of the most important applications of superconductors is in MRI machines, used in medical diagnostics. Superconducting magnets are used to produce strong magnetic fields that are necessary for generating detailed images of the body. Superconductors are also used in particle accelerators, power transmission lines, and other technologies that require strong magnetic fields or high electrical efficiency. However, the use of superconductors is limited by the cost and difficulty of cooling them to very low temperatures, as well as by their brittle nature and other material properties. Researchers continue to study and develop new superconducting materials with higher critical temperatures and other improved properties to expand their practical applications. Superconductors can be made of various materials, including metals, alloys, ceramics, and even some organic materials. The most commonly used superconducting materials are metallic alloys or compounds, such as niobium titanium, niobium tin, and lead. Ceramic superconductors, or high-temperature superconductors, were discovered in the late 1980s and are made of copper oxide compounds. They can achieve superconductivity at temperatures above negative 135 degrees Celsius or negative 211 degrees Fahrenheit, which is relatively high compared to the other low-temperature superconductors. The temperature change is significant since we can stop using liquid helium for cooling. Instead, we can use liquid nitrogen, which is much easier and cheaper to create and use. Organic superconductors made of carbon-based molecules are another type of superconductor. They can achieve superconductivity at relatively high temperatures of up to negative 70 degrees Celsius or negative 94 degrees Fahrenheit, but their critical temperatures are still much lower than high-temperature superconductors. In recent years, researchers have also discovered superconductivity in various unconventional materials such as iron-based compounds and topological materials, which have opened up new avenues for developing superconducting technologies. Manufacturing superconductors varies depending on which exact materials you are using as a base, but there is a general process that applies to making most superconductors. The first step is to select the appropriate superconducting material for the application. The material must have the desired critical temperature, magnetic properties, and other performance characteristics. The selected material is then prepared in a specific form such as wire, tape, or thin film, depending on the intended use. The material may be melted, powder processed, or grown from a crystal. The superconducting material is then shaped into the desired form using a variety of techniques. For example, wire can be drawn from a larger piece of material, or tape can be cut from a larger sheet. Once the superconducting material is formed into the desired shape, it is typically subjected to a heat treatment process to optimize its superconducting properties. This involves heating the material to a specific temperature and holding it there for a specific time period. Finally, the superconductor must be cooled to the appropriate temperature to achieve superconductivity. This may require liquid helium or other cryogenic cooling methods depending on the critical temperature of the material. The process for creating high-temperature superconductors is much more complex and expensive, making them both more rare and valuable. With higher temperatures, there is more leeway in what can be done with these types of superconductors. So that is how superconductors are used today. Now let's start on what would happen if we could figure out a room temperature version and how it would change things. The discovery of room temperature superconductors would be a major scientific breakthrough, with many potential practical applications. With this type of superconductor, we would be able to advance technology by orders of magnitude. Room temperature superconductors could revolutionize energy transmission and storage. They would enable the creation of more efficient power grids, which would reduce energy losses and make renewable energy sources more viable. They could also be used to store large amounts of energy for later use. Room temperature superconductors could be used to create more efficient transportation systems, such as high-speed trains that levitate above the tracks using superconducting magnets. This technology would be faster, quieter, and more energy efficient than current transportation systems. Room temperature superconductors would also lead to the development of more advanced electronics. Superconducting materials would then be used to create faster and more efficient computer chips, leading to major advancements in computing power and data processing. Room temperature superconductors could also be used to make more advanced medical imaging technologies. For example, they could be used to create MRI machines that are more powerful and produce clearer images, leading to better medical diagnoses and treatment. Room temperature superconductors could also have applications in aerospace technology, such as the development of more efficient propulsion systems and energy storage systems for spacecraft. Essentially, every industry would benefit. Almost every aspect of our lives would become better with the development and implementation of room temperature superconductors. I can't get into everything, so I will highlight military and space applications here. There would be a shift in how our military does things. Superconducting materials could be used to create lightweight, high-powered electric motors that could be used to propel military aircraft to higher speeds and altitudes than are currently possible. They could also be used to create powerful magnetic fields that could be used in the development of new types of weapons, such as railguns or electromagnetic pulse devices. We could create more sensitive sensors and detection systems for submarines or other stealth vehicles. Superconductors could also be used to create more efficient and secure communication systems, allowing for faster and more reliable transmission of information. Superconductors could also be used to create more efficient energy storage systems for military applications, such as remote bases in the field where traditional energy sources may not be available. This would give easier access to reliable power to forward operating bases or areas that would not have the best supply lines. In the space industry, room temperature superconductors would make further exploration both safer and easier. Superconducting magnets could be used to create powerful electromagnetic fields for propulsion, such as for magnetic levitation trains. In space, this technology could be used to accelerate spacecraft to high speeds with minimal fuel consumption. These superconductors could also be used to store energy in space for longer periods of time, such as in space stations or on satellites. The high electrical efficiency of superconductors would also allow for better energy storage and transmission, again, giving more reliable and longer-lasting power to the facility getting powered. This would allow us to perform more experiments to learn more about the universe and give life support to more people at a time so that they can run those experiments. Superconducting materials can be used to shield sensitive instruments and electronics from magnetic interference, which is a common problem in space. Superconducting materials could be used to shield the sensitive instruments of telescopes or other scientific equipment. The shielding would protect those sensitive pieces of equipment better, giving them the chance to last longer and provide us with more accurate results. Superconducting materials could also be used to protect astronauts from harmful radiation in space. The materials could be used to create radiation shields that are lighter and more effective than current technologies. Radiation in space would have less of an impact on our people and equipment, giving both longer lifespans and allowing them to do more with less. These superconducting materials could be used in space-based power generation systems, such as solar power satellites. These systems could capture sunlight in space and beam the energy back to Earth using superconducting wires or other technologies. Given the nature of superconductors allowing for the lossless transmission of power, we would be able to tap into a more significant portions of our current power generation systems and develop new ways to generate and use more energy. There was an academic paper recently that said they figured out a way to get a room temperature superconductor working. They essentially put the material under a tremendous amount of pressure to get it to work. Those researchers have since retracted their paper, though they hold to the fact that the raw data supports what they said. So for the moment, we still have only theories on what kinds of materials would work. Even if their paper proved reproducible results, the method they used isn't something that can be easily used and is nothing like the dream of using superconductors like we currently use copper and silicon in our existing energy infrastructure. There is a reason why figuring out superconductors matters. If one country were to develop reliable room temperature superconductors, it would have significant implications for global politics, economics, and technological progress. The country that develops it first would gain a significant economic advantage, as these materials could be used in a wide range of applications, from energy transmission to transportation to computing, like we covered before. Companies based in that country would be at the forefront of innovation in these areas, potentially leading to increased exports, job growth, and economic prosperity. If a country were to develop reliable room temperature superconductors for military applications, it would then gain a strategic advantage over all other countries in terms of military power and security. This could potentially lead to increased geopolitical tensions or even conflict. The development of room temperature superconductors could also solidify a country's position as the global leader in science and technology, attracting top talent and investment in related areas. Depending on the country's approach, the development of room temperature superconductors could lead to increased collaboration with other countries in related fields, or it could lead to increased competition and protectionism. Unfortunately, it is entirely possible that the first country would be outright attacked to both steal the technology and to strike before that country could start taking advantage of their new knowledge. There aren't many leading world powers that would be willing to give up that kind of advantage. This scenario assumes that it could be some government agency or think tank that makes the discovery. If some individual, group, or possibly university cracks this particular code first, they would have the opportunity to do a few different things. The first would be to openly share this information with the world. This is highly idealistic, but would have the highest net benefit for all of humanity. No one country could race ahead of the others in development of new technologies. This is idealistic because there would be minimal monetary benefit unless they came up with a way to monetize the production process. The best that these first people would get would be Nobel Prizes and their names recorded in the history books. Not nothing, but far from becoming a billionaire. Option 2 would be becoming that billionaire. They would create a company around the material, patent the process of creating it, and sell off the end result to their proprietary production process to all buyers. And there will be many, many buyers. Selling to all or most buyers would be a necessity to avoid slighting very powerful people and organizations. They would likely also get the accolades of a Nobel Prize and history books, but they would also be paid. This scenario isn't perfect. They would likely need to fight with governments, companies, and anyone else that thinks they can either get a piece of the action or feels like they will lose control over the technology. There would be many attempts to figure out their process so that it can be replicated by serious people that may not have the best intentions. Option 3 would be to join up with either a mega corporation or a government for both protection and ease of getting their superconductor idea in use. The benefits for the individual would be a serious payday, security in their own personal protection, and their country's primacy in the coming technology race. This, of course, assumes that the government or company asks nicely, but the alternative is a bit too dystopian for me. The downsides of this route would be that the technology is not shared with the entire world. The individuals involved are likely persons of interest for competing countries, and they may not get their names recorded as the discoverers and get full credit. There are many more scenarios that could occur, but these are the main 3 that I think are most likely. Reality might have a mix of these 3, or something more complex than what I can come up with. Regardless, these scenarios and decisions would need to be made by just about anyone that is working on developing technologies that will push the boundaries of what is currently possible, not just for work on superconductors. Hopefully, I haven't freaked anyone out with my view of how things may play out. I hope you all had fun learning with me. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing. If you did not like what you heard, thank you for sticking with me this far. I appreciate the time you've spent with me watching this video. No matter who you are, you only get 24 hours in a day. Thank you for spending a portion of it with me. See you next time.